Welcome to Matflix, video streaming from maternity experts. My name is Dr. Jenny Hall. I am the box sets curator at Matflix, a fellow of the Royal College of Midwives and a former editor of The Practicing Midwife. At Matflix, we bring together videos of talks from top maternity experts into box sets to support your continued professional development, study and revalidation. It is a perfect study accompaniment for midwives, maternity professionals, midwifery students and anyone thinking about a career in the maternity services. My job is bringing together the latest thinking area by area so you do not have to. Not only do you get the video of brilliant talks and relevant content in thematic box sets, you also get access to the audio version so you can listen on the commute or while you walk the dog. Plus links to the latest research in the relevant field, government policy documents, the presenter's PowerPoint and more besides. Sign up to Matflix now for the best video streaming from maternity experts.
You're thinking, but I've never read about these midwives in the Bible, and that's because they didn't make it into the Gospels. Why was it that we nurses, midwives, seem so invisible to the doctors, to the media?
An amazing midwife said to me, you can't be what you haven't seen. These are the world's most researched probiotic, and we can say that with confidence because we've done over 300 clinical trials on this little bottle of goodness.
These awards, as you know, are a celebration of achievement, effort, change, innovation, management, insight, and the many other traits necessary to sustain a proud profession like midwifery and consistent services in maternity.
We invite people to nominate a colleague or a student or a manager, whatever, where they think that person's real trailblazers.
And it's really a celebration of all that's good in midwifery and maternity care.
They recognise individuals, they recognise teams, management and educators. Anyone who values excellence and makes improvements. They are essentially a celebration of all of your achievements. So, shall we get on with it? What you do with your day-to-day lives, I just admire you hugely. If you do want to nominate a colleague, a friend, maybe yourself, please speak to the organisers and visit the website, and I really hope that we'll see you at that.
Okay, now the first award is... What's
nothing, I don't know.
We have had a 40% caesarean section rate in the National Maternity Hospital. That is major abdominal surgery.
Around 40,000 mums did not return to work in 2022. It's even more relevant if you're a mum who's experienced birth trauma.
We spend more money on litigation than we currently spend on the maternity services. It's bonkers.
It's in all of our interests, and particularly the government, to improve maternity services.
We can't achieve our mission unless we bring parents and professionals together.
A revolution needs to happen. We need to start working together.
I know it's a hard time, but for goodness sake, it's the best profession in the world.
Be proud to be midwives, be proud of the job that we do, and continue to celebrate our successes.
Midwives make a difference to women every single day, and let's not lose that. It's more important than anything.
Welcome to Matflix, video streaming from maternity experts. My name is Dr. Jenny Hall. I am the box set's curator at Matflix, a fellow of the Royal College of Midwives and a former editor of The Practicing Midwife. At Matflix, we bring together videos of talks from top maternity experts into box sets to support your continued professional development, study and revalidation. It is a perfect study accompaniment for midwives, maternity professionals, midwifery students and anyone thinking about a career in the maternity services. My job is bringing together the latest thinking area by area so you do not have to. Not only do you get the video of brilliant talks and relevant content in thematic box sets, you also get access to the audio version so you can listen on the commute or while you walk the dog. Plus links to the latest research in the relevant field, government policy documents, the presenter's PowerPoint and more besides. Sign up to Matflix now for the best video streaming from maternity experts.
You're thinking, but I've never read about these midwives in the Bible, and that's because they didn't make it into the Gospels. Why was it that we nurses, midwives, seem so invisible to the doctors, to the media?
An amazing midwife said to me, you can't be what you haven't seen. These are the world's most researched probiotic, and we can say that with confidence because we've done over 300 clinical trials on this little bottle of goodness.
These awards, as you know, are a celebration of achievement, effort, change, innovation, management, insight, and the many other traits necessary to sustain a proud profession like midwifery and consistent services in maternity.
We invite people to nominate a colleague or a student or a manager, whatever, where they think that person's a real trailblazer.
And it's really a celebration of all that's good in midwifery and maternity care.
They recognise individuals, they recognise teams, management and educators. Anyone who values excellence and makes improvements. They are essentially a celebration of all of your achievements. So, shall we get on with it? What you do with your day-to-day lives, I just admire you hugely. If you do want to nominate a colleague, a friend, maybe yourself, please speak to the organisers and visit the website, and I really hope that we'll see you at that.
Okay, now the first award is... What's
nothing, I don't know.
We have had a 40% caesarean section rate in the National Maternity Hospital. That is major abdominal surgery.
Around 40,000 mums did not return to work in 2022. It's even more relevant if you're a mum who's experienced birth trauma.
We spend more money on litigation than we currently spend on the maternity services. It's bonkers.
That it's in all of our interests, and particularly the government, to improve maternity services.
We can't achieve our mission unless we bring parents and professionals together.
A revolution needs to happen. We need to start working together.
I know it's a hard time, but for goodness sake, it's the best profession in the world.
Be proud to be midwives, be proud of the job that we do and continue to celebrate our successes.
Midwives make a difference to women every single day, and let's not lose that. It's more important than anything.
Welcome to Matflix, video streaming from maternity experts. My name is Dr. Jenny Hall. I am the box set's curator at Matflix, a fellow of the Royal College of Midwives and a former editor of The Practising Midwife. At Matflix, we bring together videos of talks from top maternity experts into box sets to support your continued professional development, study and revalidation. It is a perfect study accompaniment for midwives, maternity professionals, midwifery students and anyone thinking about a career in the maternity services. My job is bringing together the latest thinking area by area so you do not have to. Not only do you get the video of brilliant talks and relevant content in thematic box sets, you also get access to the audio version so you can listen on the commute or while you walk the dog. Plus links to the latest research in the relevant field, government policy documents, the presenter's PowerPoint and more besides. Sign up to Matflix now for the best video streaming from maternity experts.
You're thinking, but I've never read about these midwives in the Bible, and that's because they didn't make it into the Gospels. Why was it that we nurses, midwives, seem so invisible to the doctors, to the media?
An amazing midwife said to me, you can't be what you haven't seen. These are the world's most researched probiotic, and we can say that with confidence because we've done over 300 clinical trials on this little bottle of goodness.
These awards, as you know, are a celebration of achievement, effort, change, innovation, management, insight, and the many other traits necessary to sustain a proud profession like midwifery and consistent services in maternity.
We invite people to nominate a colleague or a student or a manager, whatever, where they think that person's real trailblazers.
And it's really a celebration of all that's good in midwifery and maternity care.
They recognise individuals, they recognise teams, management and educators. Anyone who values excellence and makes improvements. They are essentially a celebration of all of your achievements. So, shall we get on with it? What you do with your day-to-day lives, I just admire you hugely. If you do want to nominate a colleague, a friend, maybe yourself, please speak to the organisers and visit the website, and I really hope that we'll see you at that.
Okay, now the first award is... What's
something I don't know.
We have had a 40% caesarean section rate in the National Maternity Hospital. That is major abdominal surgery.
Around 40,000 mums did not return to work in 2022. It's even more relevant if you're a mum who's experienced birth trauma.
We spend more money on litigation than we currently spend on the maternity services. It's bonkers.
It's in all of our interests, and particularly the government, to improve maternity services.
We can't achieve our mission unless we bring parents and professionals together.
A revolution needs to happen. We need to start working together.
I know it's a hard time, but for goodness sake, it's the best profession in the world.
Be proud to be midwives, be proud of the job that we do and continue to celebrate our successes.
Midwives make a difference to women every single day, and let's not lose that. It's more important than anything.
Welcome to Matflix, video streaming from maternity experts. My name is Dr. Jenny Hall. I am the box sets curator at Matflix, a fellow.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Maternity and Midwifery Hour, coming to you from Scotland. Today, my name's Neil Stewart. I'm the Editorial Director of Maternity Midwifery Forum and of Matflix. Sue MacDonald, your regular presenter, along with very large numbers of the leading midwives in the UK, are currently in Lisbon in Portugal at the International Congress of Midwives, which is meeting there all this week. So tonight we're going to do a short program looking at some of the challenges that are coming up in the next few weeks for midwifery, looking at them from the point of view of public policy, the attitude of women to childbirth, and the attitude of many women and government to maternity and midwifery. So before then, I'll start off with my moment of the week. Not surprisingly, it was Scotland winning at the World Cup, which we have not seen for over 28 years. So that's my cheerful note. I could hear people running around the streets at 4 in the morning. But enough levity. Next week, on the 24th of June, is going to be quite a big day for midwifery in the UK. We are expecting and are promised the next report from Donna Ockenden on what has been happening in the studies she's been doing at Nottingham University Trust, looking into their maternity services. We have some idea from the Panorama programme and from other news coverage that it's going to be painful for maternity services, but also for midwifery. And if it follows the pattern of other reports, Morecambe Bay, Shrewsbury and Telford, East Kent, Nottingham, then it's likely that it will be dwelling on a great many maternal deaths and stillbirths and a very long tail of trauma. We are also expecting, although it's not got a firm date, the report from Baroness Valerie Amos. You will remember that last summer, Wes Streeting promised quick action on maternity services. He set up a task force and he initiated a review. Everyone expected it all to be done and dusted before Christmas and the task force to be implementing it. Well, it's been put off and been put off. And now he is no longer the Secretary of State, but I think it's still likely that we will see Valerie Amos's report. In other news, the International Confederation of Midwives has a new president. So everyone is welcoming Alison Eadie, who is the chief executive of the New Zealand College of Midwives and a prominent international midwife in her own right. She takes over on Friday, so watch all your social media for ideas and comments as to what she's planning to follow up. An interesting story in the media this week was a long interview on The Rest is History with Paul McCartney of the Beatles, where he discussed the fact that his mother was a midwife. And if you're interested in his new album, one of the tracks, The Salesman and the Saint, is about his father and his mother. And it's about his mother as a midwife. And there's quite a moving description of how his midwife mother operated in those days. And he describes late a winter night in deep snow, her putting her bag on the back of her bike and cycling off into the suburbs of Liverpool. And it's on YouTube. The rest is history, and it really is worth a watch. Now, this is the 24th of June is the International Day of Women in Diplomacy. Now, I suspect that this is mostly for women who are working in international affairs, although I could twist it around so that it applied to midwives who spend half their life trying to work out the diplomacy between women, maternity services, medics, and sometimes families as well. And on the 24th at the festival, we will be doing a rally for midwives at lunchtime, which will be live streamed and shared all across the country. And it will be addressing the major issues of the moment, not just midwifery pay, but the need for an extra 3,500 midwives, and most pressing, the need to make sure that 2,800 student midwives who are graduating in the next few weeks are able to find jobs. And many of you will have seen that in some of our previous programs and at our festival in Birmingham earlier this year, that at one point those 2,800 were chasing just 3 jobs. So we'll see whether or not that has improved. There is the festival in Bradford next week, the Northern Festival, but as you know, it is live streamed to the whole country. And within that festival, we've got a number of keynote presentations, all of which will eventually appear in the Matflix catalogue. So for those of you whose universities, which is about half of them, and all the key ones in Scotland, who have Matflix, you will soon be able to share these with colleagues and use some of the material in your essays and studies. And of course, for the other half, if you can keep campaigning to get your universities and your libraries to subscribe to Matflix, then you will get everything for free. But you can individually subscribe if you need to. So tonight we're going to look at, to be honest, the politics and policy affecting maternity services, because I think everyone would agree that maternity and midwifery is in a very difficult place. There is quite a serious disjunct between the traditional view and narrative of maternity services and the role of midwives and what is actually happening in childbirth and maternity services in the UK. First of all, there's a huge social change, which I think everyone is aware of. The average age of a woman giving birth in the UK is now 31, which of course means that over half of them are older than that. And with it, that brings all sorts of complexity. 90% of women still say that they would like to have children, but there is still an embedded belief that medicine and midwifery services can enable them to have children later and later without them fully understanding the implications of all of that. The government are reeling in the face of a decade of scandals, which have reshaped the way that policymakers think about maternity services. This has been driven by the safety failures and mistakes and the scandals that have come out of Morecambe Bay, Shrewsbury and Telford, East Kent, and soon, no doubt, a similar pattern will emerge from Nottingham. Indeed, one of the concerns is that the methodology of many of these inquiries is bound to lead to headlines which will change the view of women of their maternity services. Even though 80% of women say that they are satisfied with their experience of childbirth, that still leaves 1/5, 20%, who are not. And it's been interesting following the track of these major scandals. Morecambe Bay is now over 10 years old. Shrewsbury and Telford, Donna Ockendon's first report, was interesting, not just for what it revealed about maternal and stillbirth, but it was the first time that the public rediscovered the extent of birth trauma, the long tail, and there were over 1,300 cases in her report of women who survived and their baby survived, but who'd had an extremely traumatic and disappointing experience. And we began to hear the phrases about women not being listened to. So I come at this slightly as an outsider, looking at maternity and midwifery services. I started my career as a senior officer at the Royal College of Nursing. I'm not a nurse. Number crunching, looking at policy, working in Parliament, and looking at the way that the outside world looked at nurses and midwives. In those days, virtually all the midwives were in the Royal College of Nursing. Virtually all of them had been nurses beforehand. So where do we go forward? Well, earlier this year, the government published a women's health strategy. And right at the centre of that strategy, and all the way through it, while it did cover cancer and the treatment of women in many other areas, it was quite clear that very large amounts of it referred to maternity and midwifery services. And this is what it said in the introduction. The NHS has a problem with basic everyday sexism and an appalling culture of medical misogyny. Almost every week I hear profoundly shocking stories from victims of some of the NHS's worst scandals. Women whose babies died in our care when they could have lived, women who have been treated appallingly by medical professionals and left in agony, disfigured and traumatised by botched surgery and neglected care. So that was Wes Streeting in April in his introduction to the Women's Health Strategy. And it's hard to read those words and to realise that when he refers to medical professionals, he is including midwifery and other maternity workers, not just medicine. If you then go through that strategy, it sets out 3 headlines: that women need to have voice, in other words, they have to be listened to; that secondly, they need to have choice and options as to how they give birth; and third, they need to have power. Now, where we stand at the moment is that women are achieving greater voice. Maternity services and others are being more careful to listen to what women are saying and to try and to respond. But there will always be, and there still are, and there will be next week, a string of news stories, the core of which will be that the woman was sent home, the woman wasn't listened to, her symptoms weren't recognised, it was put down to anxiety or panic, and she was sent home. And the reasons for this, and the pressure that midwives and other medical staff are under, that they are missing these kinds of opportunities to listen to women are still not very clearly set out. Second, women are supposed to have choice. So since 2011 and then more clearly in 2014, women have the choice to have a surgical C-section. But they're also supposed to have a choice to have a home birth, to have a birth in a midwifery unit, to have a birth in a unit that runs alongside an acute hospital, or a full maternity unit with full emergency and acute services. And that range of choice has been reduced since COVID. Many of the services that were suspended in COVID have not been rebuilt. There are some excellent examples where they have, but women's choice has been reduced. And more, the choice is being closed in around the current maternity unit model as part of an acute hospital. If you compare that to the discussions that are going on in Lisbon this week, where the headline is that the world needs an extra 1 million midwives, and if they can get them, it will save and likely to save 4.3 million lives. Since the year of the nurse and the midwife, there have been dramatic changes across the world. There has been pushback in many areas, but in parts of India, across Africa, across the Middle East, the adoption of midwifery first policies has begun to ensure the engagement of pregnant women with professionals, properly trained services, and they are beginning to see their statistics move forward quite dramatically. So many of them are beginning to experience choice as opposed to just home birth. But choice in this country looks as though it is being narrowed. But the one choice that is exploding, and whether it's a choice or not is a matter of some debate, is the choice of C-section. Now, the choice of C-section has risen, or did rise, to about 15%. Midwives and consultants talking to the women, looking at their risk factors, age, comorbidities, diabetes, you can make the list. And about, the last time I looked at the big figures, about 90,000 or so were opting for that choice. And yet, as women go into maternity units, in the same year that 90,000 had a planned C-section, it turned out that another, on top of it, 121,000 had an emergency C-section. And the explanations as to what is happening in those, I was going to say 2, 3 or 4 days, but in fact, Dr. Bill Kirkup points out that the average stay in maternity units has dropped below 2 days. Get them in, get them out, seems to be clear the beds, seems to be the motivation. So there is something quite big going on. On the question of power, how much power women have to demand particular kinds of care, not just during pregnancy, but afterwards. Well, there are some improvements on all of that. Women are being given more power and more support, especially around early issues like miscarriage. A lot of proposals to improve the support of women who've had miscarriages in earlier stages of pregnancy. But power around the actual time of childbirth, admission and control at that point seems to be weak, and many plans are obviously being overturned. And power after childbirth in postnatal is being seriously weakened, and in many cases appears to be relatively absent. Women's power has made sure that after 8 weeks, a woman is meant to see a GP, not a midwife, to have their mental health checked, because the issue of mental health has been discovered by the policymakers, and the realization that many of the women who died up to the end of the first year were dying at their own hands through suicide and because of mental health reasons. But it's all very uneven. It also says in the women's strategy, and this doesn't just apply to maternity, that one size does not fit all. And yet we seem to be drifting towards one size does fit all. Everyone being driven towards maternity units attached to acute hospitals. So the dilemma is, how can maternity services and how can midwifery bring back voice, choice and power? And how can they stop what's been going on, the blame culture that's referred to constantly in reports between midwives and other professions, between midwives and women? And I think some of the answer lies in the report of Mary Renfrew, which was done in October 2024 on Northern Ireland. And although it was a Northern Ireland report on safety, they took the opportunity during COVID, and funnily enough, the absence of a government in Northern Ireland, to do a wide review and include UK-wide statistics and look at how you could build a maternity service that gave voice, choice and real power to women. And I commend that. But she does make the point, there is no quick fix. This will take years to put right. It's been going wrong for years. Resources are concentrated in the wrong place, and it's going to be very difficult. So one of the things that we're doing, and I'll sort of finish on this, is we are having a rally for midwifery on the 24th. It'll be recorded, it'll be live streamed. You can watch it on your phone, you can book out a seminar room, and you can vote on the poll. The poll should be available in the chat. It's certainly available on the Maternity and Midwifery Forum. And it's looking at what kind of slogan or demand might be added to the demands around pay, about 3,500 extra midwives, about employment for all the student nurses, and closing the salary gap between universities and NHS, which is doing such damage in the education sector. What kind of slogan can make sure that midwives and the women's movement, if such a thing still exists, are pulling in the same direction and not banging heads against one another in the way that's been happening for the past couple of years? And the slogan that has been suggested is "No pregnant woman sent home." And this is quite controversial, and what we've set out are a whole series of arguments against and for that you will hear amongst it. I think it's worth looking down those and making your own mind up how to vote on it. And if people are not happy with it, we're certainly not going to adopt it. We're not that kind of forum. But take a look at that, because the dilemma is that unless midwifery objectives and midwifery language are aligned with what women expect in the years going ahead, that gives them voice, choice, and most importantly, power. Because without power, people will find that they don't have the voice and the choice that they hope. There is some interesting work around Martha's Law, which applies across the whole of the NHS, and it should apply in maternity as well, where they are claiming that hundreds of lives have been saved. And that is something that can make quite a big difference. But the resource changes that are needed to reconfigure maternity are quite significant. So I always end these things by reminding people that although we have an acute medical model in our hospital services, women who are having children are not ill. It is not a disease. The great many of them will have perfectly successful natural vaginal births. We know that women can have babies anytime between 38 weeks and 42 weeks in a perfectly ordinary way. We know that in Israel they keep statistics on all of this. We know that midwives often ask somebody, were you late? Was your mother late? trying to see if there is any genetic pattern. But the configuration of services now is so frantic, so built on an emergency model, that something is clearly going wrong. It is likely that when the next statistics come out, it will be officially the figure in the UK that over half the women are giving birth by surgical C-section. And this is not something that is widely understood, or how we have got here, or what are the consequences of it. The stillbirth and maternal death statistics have stalled and are going backwards. So there are some very serious questions and big reforms that need to be taken. And we are trying to find ways to help midwives have their voice. So I'll stop there and I'll take any questions or comments. Please put them in the chat and they'll be forwarded to me. And we will see what's coming up. So let's just have a look. What if the pregnant woman, this is Sarah Johnston, thank you, Sarah. What if the pregnant woman does not want to be sent home, but to be allowed to stay at home to birth their baby? Well, at the moment, both of those choices will often be, quite often a woman will not want to be sent home, but the midwife will then be caught in the middle, having to push back, either because the unit is full, there's a lack of beds, or there's a belief that you can predict the timetables for these things, or there might be a failure to recognize some of the symptoms. And, it's less than 30 years ago where women would have been admitted days before their due date, and they would have stayed in days after, a practice which still exists in France and other places. But if a woman wants to be allowed to stay at home to birth her baby, then obviously that choice should have been made earlier, because a home birthing team should have been assembled. And we know at the moment that that choice is not available everywhere, although there are some wonderful examples of it. So this is quite a challenging, deliberately challenging slogan, which produces all sorts of awkward questions, which can't be answered without big changes in resources. So Juliet Samuels says, is it likely that another impact of COVID was the overall skills and expertise, as well in some cases confidence of midwives, have been impacted on and is now experienced by some women within the maternity area? Well, I think that is likely to be true. Historically, about 10% of births used to be breech births. And in 1970, whether it was due to legal pressure or others, the medical profession decided that breech births had become too risky and that there should be more default to C-sections. As a result, the ability and capacity to do breech births is now relatively rare amongst medics and midwives. Ironically, some of the international midwives who come to work in the UK have more experience of it. And I think Julia is right that some of the confidence of being able to operate, whether it's home births or in midwifery units, is reduced if you're working in an environment where you're not practicing that on a regular basis. So Joe Dagestan from AIMS says that the AIMS review is expected on July 1st. Well, let's hope she makes that. That's quite good, but it reinforces the point that within a week, from the 24th of June to the 1st of July, we're going to have a crescendo of issues around maternity, and midwifery and its leaders need some answers that go a bit further than more pay, more people, and the urgency of students. People hear that, they sympathise with it. The politicians think it's motherhood and apple pie. The government will tell you that they've made 2,000 more places available in midwifery and that they're spending 149 million more than before. The lead midwives in education and the heads of midwifery will tell you that retention is hemorrhaging people out the back as fast as they can try and replace them out the front. Certainly the Amos report will be very interesting as to how wide a view that she takes. What can be done to reduce SC, C-sections, I think you mean? I'm not at all clear. I think the important thing is that we have to ask the question, what is happening in that short period? What is happening that overturns the planning of the women and the considered professional view of the midwives and doctors who have persuaded women, mostly persuaded women. There are obviously women who are doing C-sections by choice, but most of it has been on medical advice and considered advice. And I know that from not my own experience, but obviously my wife's experience. And a lot of people may change some of their choices, but the numbers are so huge and the costs and the demand on resources are so huge and now so far ahead of what is happening even in America and other parallel countries. So we've hit 44% being delivered by C-sections. America is at 32%. Even they have begun to consider what has been happening in the changes of method of birth. To be that far ahead is a matter of some concern. Now, Sarah Johnson says she's got a reservation about the slogan, is that it completely ignores the woman who would like to have a home birth. My concern is that in the first instinct is to cut home birth service, which reduces skill. I think that is a good point. These are the dilemmas. These kind of slogans are always blunt. They're always in an absolutist form. What is interesting is that so many of the reports of tragedies and stillbirth constantly comes up with the woman being sent home, not being admitted. This slogan doesn't transform everything, but it puts tremendous pressure or asks a question. But Sarah is quite right. And I've had this from other people. Does this diminish home birth? Does it restrict the idea of continuity of care? Will it undermine midwifery-led units, a lot of which are under pressure anyway from the bean counters? And will it result in reduces skill building in that area? And again, that is the debate that needs to be had. Joe says, good choice of topic, Neil, thank you. I don't like the slogan, but we do need to talk about an overhaul of early labour care. Yes, Joe, fire away alternative slogans. As a young man a long time ago, I remember being in the room when all of us in anti-apartheid decided that we would change the slogan to Free Nelson Mandela from End Apartheid Now. At that time, Nelson Mandela was regarded by Mrs. Thatcher, by half the government, as a terrorist. It was not a popular choice in the beginning, but as a method of leverage, it was a demonstration of how some of these blunt slogans kickstart a much wider discussion, and perhaps much wider than we'll get from the reports that we're going to hear in the next few weeks. And Joe also says there never was a consensus on what the system did or didn't do to women in this period. The recent technological fix of new triage system was never going to cut it. And certainly the pushback against telephone triage is quite strong. I'm not sure where you think these mothers are going to stay in a unit of 6,000 births. There's absolutely no capacity to keep all the mothers in. Some women would want to stay for the length of the pregnancy, which would not improve any outcomes. You would medicalise all mothers. Well, I spent last summer in Helsinki with the International Council of Nurses and Midwives. In most countries, midwifery is still, as in Ireland, part of the nursing trade unions. I went round and asked what systems they all had, and they all had systems for lying in. And some of the French were saying that women could stay in for up to 12 days, which I didn't believe. In Germany, they said midwives would visit almost every day for up to a week or more, sometimes performing functions that we would associate with health visitors. So other systems do take that whole wraparound, but you're quite right. It is absolutely not available at the moment for people to have a room, to be nearby, to be able to be seen, etc. But that's a function of the system having its choices reduced. And I think even some leading medics are surprised at the short stay times. So that is a big issue, Melanie, and that's one that's got to be debated. How have we got to this position? Why are we so sure that we can So everyone, I think we'll finish there. I think that was a good representative range of the views and the difficulties that such a demand would raise and would seriously challenge the structure of maternity services. But clearly at the moment, women don't feel that they're getting the choices that they want to have. Others observe that the skills are being narrowed within midwifery. And we now learn that Valerie Amos is aiming for the 1st of July. So it's going to be a roller coaster 2 weeks for midwifery. And hopefully there can be some positive outcomes. But I think the message is we need to find ways to answer the questions that women are asking in a way that they feel gives them voice, choice, and power. And at the moment, I don't think they do. So there is a poll out there if people would like to vote on it, and we'll see how it goes forward. And we've had some other suggestions for alternatives, and this is the kind of crowdfunding that works, crowd sourcing that works well. If you have other ideas for slogans or formulations of words that will align the practice of midwifery with the aspirations, aims, and values of modern women, then let's put it in there until we find something that gets everybody marching in the same direction. So thank you very much. This will be available in Matflix and across all our platforms. So from me, good night, and speak to you soon.
Welcome to Matflix, video streaming from maternity experts. My name is Dr. Jenny Hall. I am the box set's curator at Matflix, a fellow of the Royal College of Midwives and a former editor of The Practicing Midwife. At Matflix, we bring together videos of talks from top maternity experts into box sets to support your continued professional development, study and revalidation. It is a perfect study accompaniment for midwives, maternity professionals, midwifery students and anyone thinking about a career in the maternity services. My job is bringing together the latest thinking area by area so you do not have to. Not only do you get the video of brilliant talks and relevant content in thematic box sets, you also get access to the audio version so you can listen on the commute or while you walk the dog. Plus links to the latest research in the relevant field, government policy documents, the presenter's PowerPoint and more besides. Sign up to Matflix now for the best video streaming from maternity experts.
You're thinking, but I've never read about these midwives in the Bible, and that's because they didn't make it into the Gospels. Why was it that we nurses, midwives, seem so invisible to the doctors, to the media.
An amazing midwife said to me, said, "You can't be what you haven't seen." These are the world's most researched probiotic, and we can say that with confidence because we've done over 300 clinical trials on this little bottle of goodness.
These awards, as you know, are a celebration of achievement, effort, change, innovation, management, insight, and the many other traits necessary to sustain a proud profession like midwifery and consistent services in maternity.
We invite people to nominate a colleague or a student or a manager, whatever, where they think that person's real trailblazers.
And it's really a celebration of all that's good in midwifery and maternity care.
They recognise individuals, they recognise teams, management and educators. Anyone who values excellence and makes improvements. They are essentially a celebration of all of your achievements. So, shall we get on with it? What you do with your day-to-day lives, I just admire you hugely. If you do want to nominate a colleague, a friend, maybe yourself, please speak to the organisers and visit the website, and I really hope that we'll see you at that.